To make sure you don't miss the next story, subscribe to the channel below this video, and don't forget to like it and share your opinion in the comments. On the morning of June 18, 2019, I kissed my wife on the cheek and went to work. I was absolutely peaceful and calm. During that period, my life had taken a steep turn. Serious progress was being made at work. I had an expensive hobby that I could and wanted to pay for. And my wife was finally pregnant. I was probably even happy. I met my future wife back in college. She was a quiet girl from a decent family who fell madly in love with me. I liked it terribly. I thought that the man who has these feelings will never betray me. This was very important to me at the time, because my own life, my work, my ambitions have always had priority over girls. I was involved in public life, had a variety of interests, and from the second year of college, I tried my hand at business. I did well. My parents only found out that I had a car when I bought my third one. True, my parents lived in another city at the time. I spent the last 2 years of my life at work. I worked very hard, and I was burned out emotionally to the point where I could come home at 10 p.m. and I could stare at myself in silence. I didn't listen or hear what my wife was saying. I spent all my weekends with friends who were from the heart and from whom I got support. The very support I missed so much from my wife. Her interests, on the other hand, were always kind of down to earth. She was not interested in politics, not interested in books and movies, which were interesting to me. With her, it was simpler. She used to open the internet and fill up the pages. A year and a half ago, she met a colleague from another department at a corporate party. He was older and also married, but that didn't stop them from having an affair. Some people say, "You are a real horn player if you have not noticed that your wife was leaving you for a year and a half." Yeah, I didn't notice. A year and a half ago at work, because of my self-confidence, I made a big mistake, which could have put an end to my whole career. I corrected that mistake and rebuilt my reputation in front of a client throughout the spring and summer of 2018. It was exactly the period when I didn't notice anything around me. It was exactly the period when I needed support myself. When I solved my own problems, I finally began to wonder where my wife was disappearing to. She had a subscription to a sports club, gym, pool, and so on. She would spend time there in the evenings after work and wouldn't come back until 9:30 p.m. It was convincing enough, saying she couldn't answer the phone because she was at a group workout or at the pool. That was also acceptable. She spent weekend evenings with a friend and sometimes slept over at her mom's house. I suspected something wrong, but there was no serious reason to be jealous. I thought that I just played the imagination, because relationships are supposed to be built on trust, right? But which of you wife does not go to the gym after work? Which of you girl does not walk with her friend? Which of you woman does not sleep over at her mother's? By about noon of the day the truth came out, I decided to check her phone records. Let me tell you right away that I did it only with the purpose to understand where she got such big expenses on calls with subscribers of other operators. I paid her phone bill, and I accidentally found a phone number with which she was talking every day, and not less than 30 minutes, more often and longer than with me. I put that number in my phone. Maybe it's her mom, dad, little sister. No, I don't have that number. I open up the Viber on the picture man. I start making ends meet. My wife is on the phone several times a day with some man. The first call at 8:30, the last one at 9 p.m. Maybe it's just a colleague from work, but what is there to talk to him so much and often, especially in the evening? Asked her to come over, showed her his picture, told her I knew everything. I still thought that now it would turn out to be a stupid misunderstanding, and we would laugh together. She didn't deny it. I asked her to tell it like it was. She couldn't tell me anything. She got confused with her own lies, and it was obvious. A couple of days later, I met her new man. From him, I learned about how long they had been dating, who initiated the relationship, and other dirt and details. He confirmed his words with his correspondence and classmates, in Contact and Messenger and WhatsApp. I was looking at this correspondence and shit when these two did not hit the big bucks because of his mistake at work and tried to resolve everything. She was discussing where they have sex tonight. Sure, at some point I wanted to punch him in the face. Yes, but what difference could it have made? Did it make any sense? Besides, the question was, whose baby was it? I won't tell you how I came to that conclusion, but I'm 99.9% sure the child is not mine. As the head of our broken family, I am well aware of my responsibility for not being able to see in time and for missing the moment when the marriage should have been saved. I missed the moment when the point of no return was passed. She moved out the same day. The first few days she called, came over, cried, apologized, and offered to save our marriage. Hey, yes, the first few days I hesitated. I was feeling guilty and in shock. I couldn't fucking believe it. I just couldn't believe it. I thought it was a dream, and now I would wake up, and everything would be okay. She offered to at least stay friends, to which I replied, and let me marry his ex-wife, and we'll be family friends, and in like 10 years we'll switch back. Or we could just all live together. Why not? Is that a normal option? Anyway, the degree of inadequacy was mutually off the charts, and it annoyed me. It wasn't a matter of great love. For the last 6 months, we had been living in a constant state of quarrel. I suspected something wrong. I often could not reach her, and she had a whole bunch of complaints against me, that you were always busy, I could not count on you, and so on and so forth. After a while, I resolutely refused to talk to her anymore and wished her a happy life with her new partner. There is no turning back under any circumstances. I perceived the betrayal as a betrayal. The person I trusted most in the world turned out to be a traitor. When I needed her support so much, when I was making plans for the long term, saving up money to buy commercial real estate for the business, she was having fun with another man. I have no feelings other than disgust for her. We don't communicate. I've blocked her on all networks, and if I meet her on the street, I probably won't even say hello to her. Do you think this is unhealthy maximalism? No, I'll explain. I understand that life is not divided into black and white, and in principle you can live a happy life with an unfaithful and sincerely repentant wife. But you know what the situation is. She cheated for a year and a half and wasn't going to change anything. I could have raised someone else's child and wondered why he was so unlike me. And if it was revealed not a month ago, but after 3-4 years, that's what I call betrayal. Not just cheating on my husband, but having another man's child with him. By the way, in Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy, traitors are in the very last circle of hell, the ninth. According to Dante's classification, betrayal is the worst sin. It seemed to me that everything that was happening was a dream. The dream didn't end for 3 weeks, and they gave me a leave of absence from work. I drank like an animal, and I behaved like an animal toward other girls as well. Eventually, I came to a balance and started a new life. Changed my hair, let go of my edged stubble, changed my clothes. I can't say I fully recovered, but at least I started going to work and got back to my regular life. During the time, I introduced myself as an animal. I met a lot of strange and interesting people, met a lot of beautiful and unusual girls. A few times they tried to beat me up while I was wandering around the city at night, but somehow they got away with it. They themselves began to fear me when they saw my reckless state. I laughed in the face of danger. No amount of fear could drown out the pain of betraying someone close to me. I've been to places and seen things I never thought I'd see before. For example, I met a man who claimed to have sold his soul to the devil for a drop of attention from the girl he loved. According to him, he got just that little bit, and then his whole life went down the drain. I met a man with talking dogs. That's not true. Only he can hear them. I met a girl who asked me to run away with her to Israel. Rejected. It's total Alice. It's too much even for this story. We spent a wonderful night driving around town with the guys from Dagestan, running away from her lovers, Tatarin and Ment. I helped the girl, drugged by some drug, picked her up by the roadside and drove her home to her inadequate talk and the psychotropic weapon that had changed her appearance. Or maybe it was true. I talked two married madams out of cheating on their husbands, at least that night. I brought back old friends with whom, for one reason or another, I had been at odds with, and much more. Now every day is different, and I love it. It's like I have a second wind. I look into this life, I absorb these feelings, these emotions. I can go anywhere, anytime. I'm interested in looking at the world through eyes that I haven't looked at in over 7 years. And so, 1 month and 1 week has gone by. And now I feel so much better. I'm only 30 years old. I have everything: a prestigious job, a car, an apartment. I'm completely free. I have no children and no alimony. I have no property division dispute with my ex-wife, so that's what I was thinking. Maybe it's all for the best. This is my new life, and it brings new perspectives. I was reassured, and I realized I had a second chance. A second chance to find a companion in life with whom I would have a much greater understanding, at the very least. What do I wish for you, friends? Dear listeners, I read this story with a smile, because I would like to put it in the rank or class of those stories, which would be worth listening to everyone who recently or right now has been cheated on by his wife. They are worried about the separation, about betrayal, and so on. This is an example of a story, an example more precisely of the behavior of a man who has chosen the right path, chosen the right psychological decisions and attitudes. He does not fixate on any neuroses or neurotic disorders, which of course most often arise against a background of the strongest stress. As we know, infidelity, betrayal. This is one of the most severe stresses. We often have stories on the channel about husbands who frankly do not know what to do with themselves. What to do with themselves after such an incident. But here it is the opposite. That's what I liked the story. And if you like what I do for you, these videos, please support the channel likes, subscribe. It helps him to grow and develop. This is your best thanks for my work for you. Write in the comments as well what you think about the action of this young man. I am sure we are in agreement. And if not, it will be even more interesting. And I was with you, your narrator. I'm not saying goodbye and by tradition. I'll see you tomorrow on the Fate Drama channel in a new story.